What is up, guys? Humphrey here. Thanks for being back for another video. If you don't know who I am, I make videos here on YouTube on personal finance and investing, but today I actually have a book about the 6 books that are right here. Actually, one of them is a digital book, so it's not here, but I will share it with you. But these are the 6 books that have had the most transformative impact on my life. So I was never much of a reader growing up, and growing up, if you were to give me about 20 books, I might be able to finish one of them, and that's being pretty generous. Now, I'm the kind of guy that will read maybe half of a book, 25% of a book, and then all of a sudden, if I get disinterested, I'm just putting it down. I'm not wasting my time anymore. I've always found that I was a better learner just by watching videos online, reading articles online because they're a little bit shorter, and also just by doing. However, when I was looking around my room lately, I noticed that there were a few books that really were able to, 1, hold my attention, and 2, that I actually finished, and I wanted to share those with you today because those I feel like are really important to me because I was able to actually finish them and absorb all the information that they were basically providing. These are the books that I'll come back to time and time again, and these are actually the books that I have reread or read a few times. One of my favorite thinkers is actually Naval Ravikant, and he's the CEO and founder of AngelList. I don't know if he's the CEO anymore, but basically he's got a great quote on his podcast, which is this: "I would rather read the best 100 books over and over again until I absorb them, rather than read every single book that's out there." So I really identified with that quote, and in today's video, I'm gonna share with you the 6 books that have transformed my life. I'm gonna give you a quick summary of each book and how it's actually had an impact on my life as well. So the first book I'd like to talk about is one called The Goal, and it's actually by an author called Eliyahu Goldratt. It's a fictional story of a factory manager who has 90 days to turn his plant from being unprofitable to profitable. If he doesn't turn his plant around, basically he's gonna lose his job, and everyone that works at the plant is gonna lose their job as well. So this book is a business book, and it's mostly about the theory of constraints, and it's such a good book that Mr. Beast himself even said it had the most impact on his life in a recent tweet. Now, I have the graphic novel version, but there is also a written format version, so depending on if you like comic books or not, you can actually get it in a comic book format, which I thought was pretty cool. The protagonist of the story actually realizes, through the help of his ex-professor, that his plant is failing due to a variety of bottlenecks and an undefined goal. What the goal really teaches you is that in any work or team environment, that it's 1, really good to understand what the actual goal is, and 2, really understand how your business is operating and analyzing your business from a really objective standpoint. One of the most important examples in the book itself is knowing that there are going to be bottlenecks in anything that you produce, either as a business or as an entrepreneur or as a creator. And by identifying the weakest link in the chain of whatever you're trying to produce, you can come up with a strategy to make it not so weak anymore. It's one of those books I revisit whenever I'm having a hard time producing something or maybe getting the most out of my work. It teaches me to look at whatever I'm doing objectively, and by analyzing where my actual bottlenecks are, especially in my own workflow, I'm able to understand how I can then put out better work more efficiently. The next book is called The Art of Living, and it's a book on Stoicism, mostly about the teachings of the philosopher Epictetus. It's written in modern language, so it's much easier to digest than his original works, and it's basically a collection of 93 short stories, or 93 ballads, or vignettes, if you will, about how to live life in a really great way. These short lessons could be as small as a paragraph, or at most, they're usually just a few pages long. I view this book as sort of a mindset book, and it's really good to go and visit it from time to time, especially because the stories in it are so short, but the lessons are so valuable. One of my favorite stories from the book itself is about how events should not affect us, but how we think of them should. So basically the quote is this: "Events don't hurt us, but our views of them can. Things themselves don't hurt or hinder us, nor do other people. How we view these things is another matter. It is our attitudes and reactions that give us trouble." I really like that quote. It really shows me that events are going to happen no matter what, but it is our reaction to them that's really going to guide how our life goes. Essentially, this book can be read in snippets, and I really like to revisit it. Each snippet is full of wisdom and it really teaches me how to live life better and also in a more peaceful manner as well. So if you are interested in Stoicism, I would recommend the book The Art of Living. It is a great manual on how to live your life, and always good to reference and keep around. The next book is called Playing to Win by A.G. Lafley, and A.G. Lafley was the president and CEO of Procter & Gamble for most of the years from 2000 to 2015. This is a business book that really dives into what makes a business successful or how do they actually win. I think it can be applied to any type of context, whether you're an entrepreneur, a content creator, or maybe you're just starting a side business or hobby. The book asks 5 key questions of you to try to define what your winning strategy is within your market. I'm just going to go over the first 2 questions because I think they are the most important. And the first question is, what is your winning aspiration? He really asks you to look introspectively and really define what winning in your situation would be. Once you properly define what winning is, he then asks you the next question, where will you actually play this game? I think these 2 questions are mostly aimed at basically what your market is, how will you play, and where will you play? Too many businesses and creators try to do a wide variety of things or try to maybe just target too many different topics. But what these 2 questions really drive at is trying to get you to define your market or your niche and really trying to succeed in those. So here's a great example. Let's say you start a YouTube channel and you really want your YouTube channel to be focused on gaming. You need to really define what winning is for you. Obviously, by focusing on gaming, you could kind of just put every game on your YouTube gaming channel, but I would actually say you would be much better served if you actually just focused on one game, such as, let's say, Animal Crossing. So maybe winning in this case would be, okay, you become the leader in Animal Crossing videos, but within the Animal Crossing space, you actually have to choose where you're gonna play as well. So where you play actually depends on who you want to really appeal to within Animal Crossing. Do you want to appeal to the beginner Animal Crossing player, or do you want to appeal to maybe somewhat of a hardcore or expert Animal Crossing player, or do you want to appeal to a completely different audience within the Animal Crossing niche? There are loads of different variables to actually consider when you're trying to figure out how to win in a certain space. And so by figuring out how you're going to win or where you're going to win, it's better defining your strategy on what type of content you're going to make in that specific niche as well. Perhaps your niche in Animal Crossing is to become the leader in Animal Crossing beginner tutorials, and then you can start to foray into Animal Crossing content in general, and then maybe after that, if you succeeded in both of those 2 domains, you can then start to tackle other video games on your gaming channel. So the book is really great because it really forces you to ask yourself introspective questions to figure out what basics you should really be focusing on when creating a business or a side hobby, which I really enjoy. So I really like revisiting this book from time to time, especially when I'm struggling to figure out how I'm gonna win in a certain domain that I'm playing in. The next book is the quintessential personal finance book, and that is actually Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I'm sure you've heard of this book before. It is a very famous personal finance book in which the author has basically 2 dads. One of his dads is his real dad and is not the best off financially, and the other one is actually becomes a mentor of his, but it's his friend's father who he considers his second dad or his rich dad. His mentor type dad or his friend's dad basically teaches him a model to become rich or how the rich basically operate their lives. It's a great book for an intro to personal finance, and it really defines what a true asset is versus what a liability is, and basically gets you to understand how you can get your money to work for you. One of the quotes that I really like is, keep expenses low, reduce liabilities, and diligently build a base of solid assets. According to the author Robert Kiyosaki, real assets fall into the following categories: stocks, bonds, income-generating real estate, notes such as IOUs, royalties from intellectual property such as music, scripts, and patents, and lastly, anything else that has value, produces income, or appreciates, and has a ready market. If you watch my recent video on how millionaires actually manage their money, you'll understand some of these concepts and how owning assets is going to be better than owning liabilities in the ultimate goal of becoming rich. Anyways, that's a really great book to read if you're interested in personal finance and how to build wealth in a very sustainable way. So definitely recommend. Speaking of another book that's talking about building wealth, I want to talk about the digital book in this series, which is actually called Naval Ravikant's Almanac. The book can be found at navalmanac.com and is basically a collection of Naval Ravikant's wisdom from his Twitter and his podcasts. So as I said earlier in the video, Naval Ravikant is famous for creating AngelList, but he is also famous for a tweet thread that he posted back in 2018, which was how to get rich without being lucky. The Almanac is free to download online and basically teaches you how to think like someone who's already wealthy, or basically how to prioritize your time, how to prioritize your resources, and it's just a really great mindset book overall. There are 3 tweets in his tweet thread from 2018 that he actually explains further in his Almanac and also in the podcast itself, but basically these 3 tweets are this. First, you will get rich by giving society what it wants, but does not know yet how to get at scale. Second, seek wealth, not money or status. Wealth is having assets that earn while you sleep. And lastly, don't partner with cynics and pessimists. Their beliefs are self-fulfilling. I learned a ton from Naval Ravikant's books and many podcasts, and I would say if you're trying to get into the proper mindset to learn how to build wealth, this is basically what you need to read. Naval Ravikant's book really changed my view on what things that I should be pursuing in my own career to ultimately leverage what I already am good at and basically build wealth in the long term. The last book I want to talk about is Seth Godin's The Dip. This book is a really short book, which is great for me because I don't like reading, and also really helps entrepreneurs understand when they should really quit something new or if they really should just keep going and try to ultimately succeed at whatever they're trying at. The premise is that anytime you start something new, you'll eventually hit a wall. Obviously, it's really fun in the beginning, but there's always going to be what's called the dip. And that's when things ultimately stop growing or you feel like your growth has stagnated, especially when pursuing a new venture or new pursuit. And when that happens, that's called the dip. And what this book really helps you identify is, well, should you quit while you're ahead? Or two, should you keep going? Or maybe you shouldn't have even started that venture at all. Now, he does go on to say that those that do push past the dip, or they can get past that imaginary wall, that they will reap the rewards at the end, especially if it's a venture worth going hard at. What I really like about the book is that it teaches you that you can be a superstar in almost anything that you choose, but there are some things that are just not naturally suitable for you. And the book really teaches you to ask the right questions and figure out, okay, is this venture actually worth pursuing, or am I just wasting my time when my talent and resources could be spent at something that I'm going to be the best at? As you can tell, a lot of these books are highly introspective. They force you to ask questions of yourself to try to discover more about how you operate or basically understand yourself in a way so that you can be ultimately successful in the future. None of them are really fiction books. I mean, I guess The Goal is kind of a fiction book, but it still has many real-world applications, and those are the types of books that I enjoy. So thank you for watching today's video. I'm going to leave a link to all these books in the description below if you'd like to check them out, and if you have any book recommendations for me, please leave them in the comments. As always, make sure to press the like button on this video. It really helps with the engagement of the video. And if you really could, just really tap that subscribe button. You don't need to hit it as hard as you need to. Just kind of just tap it, lightly tap it, and that'll get you so that you get more videos from me in the future. Basically, it's free, it costs nothing, but it really helps my channel out. So if you could subscribe to my channel, I would really appreciate it. And if you're really feeling generous, maybe click the notification bell because then you get notified whenever I drop a video. Feel free to follow me on Instagram. If you're ever just bored scrolling your phone and you want to come see more of me, that's where I'll be. Also, if you'd like 2 free stocks from Webull, valued up to $1,600, when you deposit $100, use the link in my description below for that. And lastly, thank you to all my Patreon supporters. I really appreciate everyone that's been watching so far. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Okay guys, peace.